the Northern Territory Australian of the Year for 2012 is Dr. John Boffa.
Well, what a great honour. I'd like to start off by thanking the anonymous person or persons who took the time to nominate me. I'd love to know who they were. Maybe one day I'll find out. One of the things I'm really passionate about is early childhood, so I thought the first thing I should say is something about my mother. When she heard that I was nominated, I grew up Catholic, went to a Jesuit school, studied theology, thought I knew everything about patron saints of the Catholic Church. But when she heard I was nominated, she told me she was praying to St. Jude. It turns out he's the patron saint of hopeless causes, which is one I didn't previously heard of. And I thought, oh, that's nice, that's one reaction to get. And she said it wasn't, she didn't think I didn't deserve it, she just was always thought I'm too controversial and that, you know, something like this had never happened. So she'll be very pleased to hear that it has happened. I'd like to thank my wife Sue and my children who've been very supportive over the years of the work I've been doing. And I think for me, you know, alcohol is obviously one of the things I'm passionate about, and it's quite appropriate that the Minister for Alcohol Policy is fitting in today to give me this award. But I think having come from Melbourne, having come from a family where my uncle, who was my godfather, and his brother were both publicans, and a long history of publicans in my family, and having worked in a house in Gertrude Street, Fitzroy, for Skid Row alcoholics, I thought I'd seen a fair bit of the damage that alcohol can do before I even came to the Northern Territory. But at the age of 25, I went to work in Tennant Creek, and I think it was just absolutely shocking what was going on in Tennant Creek in 1988. I need to thank Karen too. She fed me for the first few years in the dolly pot until I learned how to cook, and then I learned how to cook. But yeah, look, Tennant Creek in those days was just amazing. Like, it was, apart from the fact that alcohol abuse was so pervasive in the community, both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal community, at that time the public bars had sex shows, and they had them Thursday lunchtime, Thursday night, Friday lunchtime, Friday night, Saturday lunchtime, Saturday night, in the public bars. And the people, as a GP in the community, it wasn't long before I was seeing women who'd been to those shows who were being raped on the way home. And the final straw came when a 15-year-old boy who'd been attending a show in a public bar, and these are not normal sex shows, these are quite explicit sex shows with explicit acts happening in public bars, and he raped his school teacher on the way home. And so the health service I was working for, which is under the Congress, basically we all agreed that we had to do something about that, and started a campaign around initially getting sex shows out of public bars, which ended up leading to a change in the Licensing Act, which basically got rid of them. And that amendment to the Licensing Act was recently used in Darwin. It hasn't been used for many years, but that began a process of people making connections between what are the social determinants of behaviours and what are the social determinants of the sort of problems that people are experiencing. And I think led to beginnings of a whole focus on the supply of alcohol and the need to address the supply of alcohol at a population level if we're going to get on top of the alcohol problems. And I think since then the Northern Territory has made a hell of a lot of progress. I noticed recently that finally the consumption figures are coming down, and I think the Enough is Enough legislation that's been recently introduced by the government is a world first. It's a pioneering thing, and it's in the first 3 months making a very big difference. We've seen assaults drop nearly 20%. Consumption is dropping. People who are on banning orders seem to be accepting those orders, and it's an important part of what needs to be done. But as the Minister well knows, I don't think it is enough. And I'm very passionate about the need for a floor price. I think it's ridiculous to be selling alcohol cheaper than the price of Coke. And it makes a big difference. Putting the price up at a population level is also needed. So I think we can do more. But I think alcohol is a very important issue in the Northern Territory. It's something we're coming to grips with as a jurisdiction, and I think it's finally starting to make an impact, and we're seeing consumption drop and the harms that are caused from alcohol drop. The other area that I think is vital is the area of early childhood, and I think the Jesuits have always said, give us a child before the age of 7 and we'll give you the man, and I think all the research now has demonstrated how true that is. The recent Australian Early Development Index scores which assess all children in the first year of primary school, and that's going to now be done every 3 years. It was done in 2009 for the first time. Just shows you that the level of disadvantage that many Aboriginal kids are entering school with means that they won't complete school unless there's some very intensive interventions in the first few years, which by and large aren't happening. We know from the research overseas with this index that if you're developmentally vulnerable on 2 or more domains on the year you enter school, the chances of completing school are very, very small. That's the situation we're in. We're in Central Australia on the western side of the highway. 80% of children are developmentally vulnerable on 2 or more domains in their first year of school. On the eastern side of the highway, 65% of children are developmentally vulnerable on 2 or more domains. So age 5 is too late. We have to be doing a lot more prior to age 5, and there are some very good interventions that we know make a huge difference. And they're not actually, apart from Alice Springs, where one of them is being implemented now and is making a difference, they're not happening across the territory. So I think we can do a lot more than we're doing, and I think hopefully one of the things none of us will ever lose is our passion to make a change and to not accept the way things are. And certainly from the moment I got to Tennant Creek, I thought what was going on was unacceptable, and I hope I still continue thinking what's going on is unacceptable until we actually can really close the gap and make a difference. So thank you very much.